So happy New Year, everybody, and welcome to the 50th episode of High Sky Monthly. I can't believe we're doing our 50th episode. Um, you all probably noticed the registration was a little bit different for this month, but the good news is you shouldn't have to register ever again. So we're trying out a new system. Hopefully it all goes smoothly. I want to start by saying Happy Martin Luther King Day to everybody. I know this is, sort of considered a holiday, so thank you all for joining us. It really makes me miss my time growing up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where we did a humongous MLK Day parade every year. The coolest Martin Luther King celebration that I've ever seen in any city or state. Google it if you haven't seen what Tulsa does for MLK Day. So, yes, happy Martin Luther King Day to all. Such a good representation of unity and diversity and what we all can accomplish when we put our minds together on a certain specific goal. I'm Danielle McLean. I'm the founder and CEO of High Sky Society, and we are officially 1 year old. Can you believe it? It's been a year since we started. So welcome, some new faces here and a lot of familiar faces. So it's exciting to be doing this again for the 50th time. I want to ask you all so we're trying some new promotional things. So I'm going to give you a link and I'm going to put it in the chat. And if you could click that link and go to LinkedIn, and what you're going to do is you're going to click that link. Let me just click it and I'll show you what it does. It's going to take you to this. Please repost this, like it, and repost it if you're attending. So please go do that for me, and I'll wait just a minute for you to click the link. If you don't have a LinkedIn, don't worry about it. But if you do, go ahead and do that. And thank you all. We got 4 reposts. It will really help us organically grow. Oops, sorry, you guys are seeing all into my DMs. Who knows what you just saw? 5 reposts. Come on, guys. Just click the link and hit repost. Keep working on that, and we'll keep moving along. But yeah, that helps us so much. You have no idea. So those are the kind of things that, really just help us keep our content free. So just some quick announcements. The end of the year, excuse me, the end of the year review was forgive me, I'm getting over the flu. The end of the year was the end of the year review we went over last month. You can download that here. I'll post the link. It's just really mind-blowing how much we did in a year with such a small team. Congrats again to all of the winners of prizes. They are on their way. Those of you that want a jacket, I don't know if you can see, I'm wearing the jacket that you'll win. I'm obsessed with it. It's really cozy, nice quality, light enough for spring, rainy weather, but also warm for if you have a sweater under it for the winter. Another big announcement is all of the past monthly webinars are available on YouTube. So we used to have these behind a paywall. We did a lot of surveys and asked you guys for your feedback, and you all requested that they be made free and that maybe we would have people sponsor these monthly webinars. And as you see, Vertical Flight Society is our first sponsor. So if you do sponsor a webinar, that's what it would look like. So all of the past monthly webinars are on our YouTube, and I'll go ahead and give you that link here. And you only need to register once. Like I was saying at the beginning, if you remember last year, every single month you had to register for the webinars. That was really a pain. Now you only need to register once, and you're registered for, I think it's like for like the next 40 webinars or something, or next 50 webinars. So you won't need to register again every month. So it's on your calendar. And let's see. And so, yeah, this episode of High Sky Monthly is brought to you by the Vertical Flight Society. more about the Vertical Flight Society here in just a minute, but I kind of wanted to show you what you get for a Vertical Flight Society for a High Sky Monthly sponsorship. So these webinars are monthly, and then they go on our YouTube channel. So you can sponsor 1 month for $1,200. You can sponsor 3 months for $3,250. You can sponsor a year for $12,000. And your logo will go down there on the bottom. And then we'll talk about you for about 30 seconds. Thank you, Vertical Flight Society, for being our guinea pig first sponsor. As usual, you guys have always kind of stepped up to the plate and done that for us. But the cool thing is this video goes on our YouTube channel for life. And it might not seem like that big of a deal right now, but we are the biggest collection of hydrogen aviation webinars in existence, and that's growing very quickly. So that is going to come, into play. Just a quick recap of our awards. Our board member of the year for 2023 was Shola. Thank you so much, Shola. Our podcast guest of the year was Martine. Thank you so much, Martine. Our donor of the year was SoCal Gas, and our person of the year was Rishab. So congrats to you all. We would not be here without you. Huge, huge, huge thanks to you. What to expect in 2024? Well, you're going to continue to see more great High Sky Monthly presentations. We have some really exciting guests lined up for the future distinguished speakers. On March 20th, we have our H2 Hub Summit, Meet the Winners. If you're not aware of what's happening with the H2 hubs in the United States, about $8 billion is invested into the development of hydrogen hubs throughout the United States. And the Department of Energy selected 7 winners. And so we will hear from all 7 of those hydrogen hubs on March 20th, 2024. It's a virtual half-day event. They're very excited to engage with the aviation industry. If you're looking to expand operations in the United States or purchase hydrogen, or just get involved in any kind of way, I highly recommend you come. The tickets are $30. So it's going to be a really cool event where we're actually going to kind of bridge the gap between hydrogen production and aviation, which that's something that's, very near and dear to my heart. Flying High 2024 is our in-person annual Hydrogen Aviation Summit. We did it last year in Grand Forks, North Dakota. This year, it's going to be somewhere warm. You can use your imagination. I can't announce it yet, but we're going to do a huge press release. Hopefully by this time next month, I'll be able to tell you where it is. So I think you'll be really excited about that. And it will be in September. So just kind of, mark a tentative or just a placeholder towards middle of September in a warm location in the United States. We're also launching the hydrogen aviation course curriculum in the fall of 2024. We kind of did a test run of that in October for like a couple hour course. This will be the full-blown 20-hour entire curriculum. So if you're a company that's wanting, employees to get trained on hydrogen aviation, they're going to want to attend this. If you're looking to start a business in hydrogen aviation or grow your business, you're going to want to take this. We're going to cover the economics of hydrogen from production, looking at that compared to SAF, looking at the powertrains, the aircraft design, all of that will be covered in this 20-hour course. So keep an eye out for that. And of course, we have High Sky Pod, and you're going to be really interested to see the next guest. I can't announce yet, but very interesting and somebody you would not expect. So keep an eye out for that. And let's see, accidentally clicked ahead. Could you, everybody, please make sure that your microphones are muted. Rashad, maybe you could mute some people. I hear a hot mic. So again, I'm going to say, help High Sky Monthly stay free. These webinars, we considered charging $10 a month for them, $20 a month. We considered, putting them behind a paywall. But what the feedback that we got from you all was, let's keep them free. and let's have people sponsor them. So again, thank you to Vertical Flight Society for sponsoring this month. Some of you have already stepped up to the plate to sponsor future webinars. We hugely appreciate that. It really helps us get this information out there and helps cover our cost. So like I said, your branding will go on these slides and then it will be on the YouTube video for live. You can promote a product, an event, your company, whatever it is that you want to promote. And now I'm going to have you do another favor for me. I'm going to put this link in the chat, and this is the link to our YouTube channel. So to help grow our YouTube channel and so that our sponsors really get a bang for their buck, we need to have subscribers on YouTube. So kindly click that link that I just put in the chat, and it's going to take you to our YouTube, and you're just going to hit subscribe. That's all it is. Just do that, and I will give you a second to click that. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, some of you did this last month because we're going to make you do this every month until we get our numbers there. So if you haven't already, please click that and just go subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we have all kinds of content on our YouTube. It's not just these webinars. I've got an interview with John Piasecki of Piasecki Aircraft. I have an interview with Dr. Martine Rothblatt, founder of SiriusXM and United Therapeutics, and also investor in Beta Tech and eHong and many other eVTOL companies. That was a mind-blowing interview, and we will have more interviews like that. So we've got loads of content on our YouTube. So I do not think you'll regret subscribing. So thank you all for the subscription. Now, before I jump to Rishav, Mike, I just want to invite you to come on and do your promotion. I apologize, I did not have time to include it in this. But if you would like, this is your chance. You've got the stage for a minute or so. Yeah.
All right. Well, you can hear me okay?
Yep.
I wasn't planning to be on camera, so well, thank you, Danielle, and it's always been a huge pleasure to support everything that you and High Sky Society has been doing. Obviously, we've been working together for like 5 years to help launch High Sky, and just have been really thrilled at all the incredible progress that that you and Rishabh and the whole team has made. So for anybody that doesn't know about VFS, we were originally founded as the American Helicopter Society in 1943, and we're the world's oldest and largest professional society dedicated to advancing vertical flight. And now we've also expanded to pretty much all kinds of electric flight technology as well. We held the world's first electric VTOL symposium in 2014, and that's now grown. This is the world's largest eVTOL event. It'll be in 3 weeks in Silicon Valley. This is the 11th annual eVTOL symposium. And with regards to hydrogen, we've got speakers from Alakai, Piasecki, and SiriusJet, which is a recently announced hydrogen business jet out of Switzerland. And there's going to be a big announcement from them on Wednesday. VFS also held the world's first hydrogen electric symposium in 2022, thanks to the impetus from Danielle. And so we'll have our 3rd annual H2 Aero Symposium will be in March in Charlotte, North Carolina, in conjunction with SAE International. So VFS has more than 6,000 individual members. So if you're interested in hydrogen aviation, electric aviation, vertical flight, you should join too. Our website is vtol.org. We have an electric aviation news site, evtol.news, or you can go to vtol.org/hydrogen to learn more about what we're doing to support the transition to hydrogen electric aviation. So again, it's our pleasure to be the first sponsor of these webinars. And again, we're so happy and so thrilled at all the incredible progress and incredible work that High Sky Society is doing. So thank you, Danielle.
Thank you so much, Mike. And yeah, some of you may be wondering, it sounds like you guys are almost competitors. I actually used to work for Vertical Flight Society, and Mike and I together started the Hydrogen eVTOL initiatives. And High Sky is actually a spinoff of Vertical Flight Society. So we kind of took what we were doing and then some. So we worked, collaboratively to help grow hydrogen aviation. So that's the connection there.
Yeah, and
Um,
definitely not competitors. We're
yeah, yeah,
collaborators.
definitely not competitors. Very complementary. And yeah, I'm still debating on if I'm going to make it out to Silicon Valley. That is actually my favorite event that you all put on. And that you guys are going to do the eVTOL short course there.
Yes, with James Wang, yes.
Yeah, so a fantastic, if you're interested in learning about eVTOL, our hydrogen aviation course was inspired by the way that Vertical Flight Society teaches their eVTOL courses. So just a wealth of knowledge and a fantastic event, amazing people. So thank
If
you again, Mike, and
if you do
hopefully
make it out, if you decide to come out, you can moderate the hydrogen session.
oh, okay. Well, you should have asked me. We'll talk offline. We'll talk about it. So yeah. So thanks again to our sponsored Vertical Flight Society and our good friends. We love working together. And so with that, I would like to bring up Rishav Shrestha, our co-founder and CEO, and he will take it from here. Rishav, you are up. I
You're on
think you're
mute.
mute. You're on mute, Rishav.
Hey everyone, a happy new year. I'm Rishabh. I'm not co-founder CEO, I'm co-founder COO. Um, so I hope that the new year was really good for everyone. We're very excited to be back after such a long time. 50th episode, so it's a great deal for us. Thank you so much for supporting us. Before we begin and move on with the presentation today, let's just turn on um, our webcams and we take a picture. So let's take a group picture, everyone.
Yes, this is something that I've wanted to do and I forget every month. So I told Rishav, you're going to be responsible for this because I will
Mm.
forget. So even if you're in your PJs, who cares? Let's just take a group picture.
Yay. I haven't seen a lot of you in person, so this is really stoking for me. Yeah. All right. Great to see the faces of the people that join us every. Danielle, you're muted.
I was just saying this is so amazing. I don't know why we don't do this every month because it really brings it to life. Um
Mhm.
come on, turn your camera on, please, just for a sec. Oh, it's so good to see everybody. See, some of you I didn't even know you were even in here. Hi, Norbert. I didn't know you were here. Hi, Tom. Didn't know you were here either. Hi, Amethyst. Hi, Jonathan. A lot of your, because I don't see all the names. Oh, Jarrett's in here. Come on, Jarrett. Are you going to turn your camera on? If you're doing defense stuff and you can't, that's fine. But we'll go ahead and I really
All
would
right.
love it if we could get as many cameras on as possible.
Mhm. Okay, so we would wait for a few more seconds, and after that, we'll just.
Yay, Andy. Hi. Come on, turn the camera on. Don't be shy. This is for the history books. All right, that might be all we're gonna get. Okay, so let's do
Mhm.
like a 1, 2, 3 cheese. Rishav, I'll let you do the countdown since you're the one taking the picture.
All right, everyone, it's 1, 2, and 3. Cheese. All right, great.
Cool.
Danielle, let's move on.
Yep.
We have a very, very exciting speaker today, and he joins us all the way from Israel, Bentzion Levinson. Ben is the founder and CEO at HevenDrones, and he's a former commander with the Israeli Defense Forces. He's a Stanford University executive leadership alum, and Ben is committed to driving meaningful change through technology. He has led an expert team in a national project to detect and extinguish agricultural fires that were destroying farms across Israel. He founded HevenDrones in 2019 with the aim of creating an actionable drone ecosystem designed to optimize a wide range of industries, from emergency response, smart cities, and agriculture to logistics, construction, defense, species conversation, and beyond. So a lot of things happening with HevenDrones. So on to you, Ben. Take it away.
Perfect. Thank you. Let me just pull my screen up here. Okay, good morning and happy New Year's. With that long introduction, being the first one of 2024, the first guest, I see that the stakes are high. So really looking forward just to sharing some more about what we do at HevenDrones, and would love to engage in a conversation with any questions or thoughts. So I'm going to share a quick presentation, try to keep it not that long, and then would love to hear questions and just hear your thoughts and discussions. As mentioned by Rishav, and thank you for the introduction, my involvement in the drone world started about 5+ years ago after serving in the IDF in Israel, taking part in leading a national project using drones to put out fires. And the project started by using a drone at first to identify fires with the thermal camera and sending the GPS location to the firefighters on the ground. And very fast, we realized that by the time the firefighters would get there, the fire would spread and the damage would be created. So as part of this Israeli hackathon style culture, we built this larger drone that could actually put out the fires. And this experience, my first real experience with drones, got me thinking and really understanding that drones have an amazing amount of potential. It's more than drones. It's being able to use the skies, right? The basic dimension that we all sit on in our streets, in our houses, in our forests. That to some extent is taken up. But if we go a little bit upwards, not too high, but up to 400 feet usually, this makes so much sense that the space is empty. But on the other hand, almost all of the drones in the market are acting as flying cameras or flying sensors collecting information. And the question is, if you identify something, for example, a fire, what do you do about it? So this gave me the inspiration to found HevenDrones 4+ years ago, so the summer of 2019, with the goal and vision to create drones that could work as flying robots. So instead of just being the flying camera collecting information, we set out to build drones that can actually do things. As mentioned by Rishav in the introduction, there's a lot of industries that are starting to use drones, and again, most of these use cases are still as flying cameras, right? So you think about agriculture, drones are flying over, identifying what needs to be sprayed or pesticides, etc. And the question is, how do we do that more effectively from the sky? In other industries, homeland security, definitely defense. But even policing, imagine our borders. We could think about real estate. We could think about construction. We think about industrial use cases. In all these use cases, once drones can do more and actually fly for longer with larger payloads, there's really a whole a revolution to happen here. So as I mentioned, founded the company in 2019, and the first drone that we built in order to realize this vision was a heavy lifting battery powered drone. We launched this out in 2020. Actually, were able to take part during COVID. We were the first ones in Israel, maybe actually even in the world. This was in early COVID, the first few months of COVID, to deliver COVID tests within a large hospital compound in Israel. The reason that worked very well is because they closed the airspace for us. Anywhere under 400 feet was ours to fly. Now we know that when going to commercial last mile delivery, the challenges of the shared airspace, the unmanned traffic management systems, these are some challenges that I would say are just delaying the scale of delivery drones, but they definitely will come. So our first drone up to 70 pounds of payload, so considered a heavy lift, and flying for anywhere up to about 30-40 minutes. Even though that is great, and there's a lot of use cases that we do with that, we realize that if we really want to bring our vision to life of have drones fly and be these flying robots and fly in swarms and fly at scale, we have to be able to crack into flying for hours, right? And multiple hours. And when we look deeper into it, we realize that the main limitation was the energy source. And we see this in other industries. We realize that the energy source is really what's pushing, evolution capabilities in the market. And when we looked at the traditional batteries that are used in the market, we realized that even with the evolution within the battery technologies, the 10-15% yearly evolution and improvement will not be enough to allow drones to scale dramatically, which led us to hydrogen, right? So we really got to hydrogen from the need of allowing drones to fly for much larger distances. So in 2021, about 2 years ago, we opened up our facility in Israel, which is kind of a combination R&D center that also has production testing, and we became the partner, the sole partner, the exclusive provider of the Israeli government for hydrogen drones, which led to about a year of our first program, which we tested back 2022. I was going to say last year, but it's not last year anymore. And in 2023, we launched a few new models. I'm happy to say that we already have orders for these drones, and we're starting to deliver in the next coming months. So this is kind of a little bit of our company timeline and history. So looking a little bit more, as I mentioned, HevenDrones, the combination of being able to fly longer with heavy payloads is really what we do. If you look deeper at what's needed, and this is, I think, one of the challenges of building aircraft, and especially unmanned aircraft, it's really a combination of a variety of different techniques, right? Obviously, there's the hardware part of it. As you mentioned, the hydrogen, there's the energy part of it. Of course, there's the whole autonomy part, and we have an amazing team building out our autonomy, the AI, and of course, we have also the aerospace aspect to it. So it's really a lot of different aspects that make it, on one hand, challenging. On the other hand, I think that the companies that will get it right in the drone world, and we already see some companies making smaller drones and some making larger eVTOLs that are building the company in a right way to be able to scale up dramatically as the industry grows. And that's our ambition at HevenDrones, to really be the leader in our space of flying robots. It really needs a deep amount of deep technology and deep expertise. We've been fortunate to work with amazing partners throughout the world, some in Israel with the Israeli government, as well as some of the large Israeli primes, Israel Aerospace Industry, IAI, if you guys are familiar, Rafael, and also working with some amazing companies on the hydrogen side, including Intelligent Energy. I saw Andy and Jonathan joining us here this morning. So amazing partners in the hydrogen side, and really this is the only way to succeed long term. And this is my strong belief, through amazing ecosystem partners, that together we can elevate technology faster and further. So a little bit about the kind of what we see as the innovation process in the broader drone ecosystem. Where drones used to be is a single drone being flown by a single operator, doing very limited things, right? So flying with a small camera, having a short range, a few kilometers, a few miles, and that was the basic thing. And there were use cases being done with these drones in a variety of industries. Where the drone industry has been evolving to, I think, the kind of decent way of an overview of the present. Where these drones that can fly as groups, so not yet autonomous swarms, but sending out a few drones together that can complete a mission, getting improved ranges. So we're starting to see, 10 kilometers, maybe a little bit more than that. And we're starting to see a little bit larger payloads of, 10 kilograms plus. In our side on the battery drones, we reached measurement 70 pounds, so 30 plus kilograms. And we see that the drone industry has been evolving, and I will say on the defense side, which is defense industry has really been the first industry to use drones at scale. The war that started about 2 years ago with the Ukraine and Russia, I think, really opened up for the whole industry the potential of drones on many levels, including what it means to take a small off-the-shelf Chinese drone and attach to that different capabilities. And fast forwarding close to 2 years, the recent war in Gaza, I think, has also really shown us, and speaking as someone from Israel, really what is the significant role of drones in the future. This is specific in defense context, but I think defense traditionally has been one of the first innovators, I would say, or the first ones to innovate new technology. But I think we'll see this progressing to many other industries. Again, I mentioned industrial, agriculture, different aspects of logistics, and much more. So the industry is definitely going forward. What is needed to build out and achieve this future? So we have the swarms capability, which has a lot to do on the autonomy side, but any swarm of drone that's going to fly and do a mission, right? If we think about it, having these drones coming down every half an hour, 40 minutes, it just won't work, right? It doesn't work. And that's where we believe that hydrogen is the key opener for that, with other things, including heavy lift technology and autonomy technology. But we really believe that the hydrogen as an energy source really allows this future to be possible. Besides, saying that this is a must for the drone industry, hydrogen obviously has the endurance capability. We're already seeing 5x, and we're planning to improve that to 8x later on, transferring from air pressure hydrogen to liquid hydrogen. Obviously, hydrogen is totally green. Hydrogen is totally quiet, right, versus other energy sources. And if we're looking at the long term, when we actually have on-site electrolyzers, we do believe, and we are seeing that the operational cost of hydrogen will be lower than definitely other fuels and batteries as well. We also look at these sales cycles, right, and the operational cycles of batteries. So batteries, just like our phones, and we find it very frustrating after a couple months, the battery all of a sudden gives us not a full day of life, but a few hours, half a day of life. And same thing, batteries of drones. So after a few hundred cycles, they're ready to, they're ready going and giving us a lot less flight time. Hydrogen fuel cells can go for thousands of hours, obviously depending on a variety of factors, but it really is much more scalable. And I'll also say that one of the unique characters, as we know, with charging our phones, it just takes a good, close to an hour usually to charge the phone. And that's like any recharging. And again, the EV market is trying to improve that. But the recharging act takes time versus the refueling act that we're all familiar. Where you pull up to a gas station and you fill up your car with gas. So same thing with hydrogen, right? Not only is hydrogen, you get, again, 5x and more of the actual flight time per system, but you can also have the ability to refuel that very fast and very effectively. So at HevenDrones, the first hydrogen drone that we launched, we call it the H2D55. It's a hovering drone. So, the unique capability is the ability to hover for extended periods and fly for longer distances. We're flying with a 10.8 liter tank, about 350 bar of pressure. And here we have about a 14-pound of useful payload, and flying for 90 minutes, to 90 minutes and 2 hours plus, depending on the payload amount. And just to touch on the hydrogen ecosystem, there are a few key components of the hydrogen ecosystem. Obviously, the fuel cell, that we have the cylinder, right, that holds the hydrogen, high pressure cylinder. We have the airframe design, the software, and the refueling aspect. Our strategy at HevenDrones is we first look out into the market and try to do things with partners. We have amazing partners I mentioned on the fuel cell side, same in the cylinders and the refueling side. And then where we see as the gaps in the market is really where we invest our resources. And the two main areas that we've even seen the strong gaps are the airframe design and the software to manage that. And I think kind of similar, not a best example, but we look at Tesla, we're the first ones to design a car around the battery with the battery in mind, and not just take a car, and put a battery inside it. Like the first hybrid models, if we all remember, the Toyota Priuses and some others. And I think that's a unique aspect that we also learned that a lot of companies, or a bunch of companies out there, I wouldn't say a lot, there's only a handful of companies playing around with hydrogen, but almost all of them, you take a fuel cell, you take a cylinder, you try to fly it. And what we realize is that if you don't design the airframe around the hydrogen elements, then you don't get the efficiency. And the same thing with the software that will ensure this actually works at high scale. So these are things that we work on. Essentially, what we're doing is building the best systems, the best drones, and offering everything that allows this drone to work, including the refueling. As I mentioned, really working closely with the broader hydrogen ecosystem, and developing, I would say, on top of the kind of system that allows us to work at scale. So recently, about I think November, so about 2 months ago, we launched our new series, H2D200 series. The inspiration for this was that we realized that now that we're flying for hours, our first drone 90 minutes to 2 hours, but we realized that this technology can allow us to push forward, then the ability to go longer distances really becomes relevant, right? So if you're flying with a battery drone, you're flying for 30, 40 minutes, you're going to go about 10 miles. It doesn't make a big difference how fast you're going, right? It maybe take 10 minutes or 15 minutes. If you're flying for hours, then the distance becomes very significant. We also realize that most use cases in the market have a combination of two characteristics. The first one is getting from point A to point B as fast and as efficient as possible. And the second one is that once you are in the place. Again, you want to drop off a package, you want to spray pesticides on a tree, you want to take something up to a construction site, you want to install a marker ball on an electric line, whatever the task you're doing, you want to have the ability to hover. So in our new systems, we designed a combination of both flying efficiently, fast and forward, but also being able to hover for a pretty decent amount of time. And of course, take into consideration all the redundancies needed to scale this up. So there's no single point failure. Any serious significant system, main system has redundancies to it. And as I mentioned, this really has been designed around hydrogen to maximize the hydrogen. This is, you can just see for the hydrogen lovers within us, kind of how we're designing it to make the most sense. The right side is the obviously the forward side of the aircraft, and we have a that kind of the nose, like in the Boeing 747, opens up, and you can easily replace that blue hydrogen tank or put it back. We also have the ability to have multiple sizes of tanks that can allow us to fly for longer. On the left side, towards the end, we have the fuel cell with some breathing room on the bottom, as well as the parachute, and then the prop pusher on the back. Because this is an aircraft that has a forward flight mode, we have the payload bay inside the system. We also have the ability to have a lot of flexibility with the way we design and interact with the payload on these systems. A little bit more detail about the H2D 250, as I mentioned. So again, there is a variety of tanks we can use here between 20 liters and 51 liters. Payload can go up to 21 pounds, and even working on get a little faster. The average speed is 28 meters per second. You can also, at peak energy, get more than that. And this can fly hundreds of miles. At full payload, it's about 200 miles. And we can also reach close to 500 miles flying with about a 15-pound payload. So really have this diversity and this kind of range of capabilities that we believe is going to be important to both scaling out drones, but also scaling out the broader hydrogen ecosystem. I think it's important to know that we've seen hydrogen, is an amazing technology, amazing energy source, but it comes with complications, right? And a lot on the regulatory side, on the refueling side, on the supply chain, the whole aspect of where you get your hydrogen. Most customers aren't that familiar with hydrogen yet, so there's kind of that learning curve. And we've seen, our strategy is always that the best way to convince people to take that leap of faith really comes when the reward is very significant, right? So when you can fly for hours, hundreds of miles in a relatively cheap model, a relatively small model, and this can scale up, then the value really justifies the work need or the not the risk, but just the additional work needed in building out the hydrogen ecosystem. So I guess to summarize, why do we believe hydrogen-powered drones are a significant part of the future? As I showed on the broader drone innovation cycle, we believe that hydrogen is going to open up the era of autonomy at scale and of swarms. It really simplifies the operations, right? It's super fast refueling. You can change out the tank. It's actually cheaper when it gets to scale. The economics of drones and hydrogen are really important. As I mentioned it, but as we see, we're using a very small amount of hydrogen, right? So for a 2-hour flight, we're using about 250 grams of hydrogen. What this means is that it's much easier to source 250 grams than it is 3, 4, 5 kilograms for the car, or tens of kilograms for the trucks and the buses out there. So it really pushes forward the economy, and also the economic benefits there really are much more significant. And we're also seeing that in the broader hydrogen ecosystem, many companies, many interested parties, including governments, really are starting to see drones, and hydrogen drones specifically, as the pusher or what will enable the acceleration of the adoption of hydrogen at a much broader scale, right? So if we can prove, for example, in an airport, how we can source a small amount of hydrogen, a couple of kilograms a day, to have drones flying 24/7 for a variety of missions there, then we can slowly show how this can scale up to a variety of other industries. That's it for the presentation side. Hope that I was able to give you all just a kind of broader picture of what we do at HevenDrones, and share some of the vision, the mission, and the goals of what we're doing at HevenDrones. I do believe that drones are going to play a very, very significant role in our future. What I mean by that is that all of you, wherever you are, will be able to look outside the window or look up from, from where you're outside or from the window and see a world where drones are flying at scale in a variety of ecosystems and industries, right? This can be delivering our packages and our medical ecosystems. This could be in our farms. This could be in our defense industries, or on our borders. We can actually eliminate the risk of our soldiers by a little bit, right? By having drones go out there. And I believe that what we're doing to advance the hydrogen drone ecosystem is a big part of that. I would love to hear questions or thoughts and engage the discussion.
Thank you so much, Ben. Very informative and impressive. It's just an absolutely beautiful aircraft. And it reminds me of something that my aerospace engineering professor said back in the day, was that if it looks sexy, it probably flies good. And it's a sexy aircraft. So congratulations on that. And you also validated something that I've been saying for a long time, where there's sort of this idea in the hydrogen aviation community that we have to fly with liquid hydrogen. And I've been saying it depends. If you're flying with a smaller drone, you can totally get away with gaseous.
Correct.
And I'm so happy that you validated that. So I just wanted to point that out. And then another thing that I found really interesting was your partners. A lot of them I would have considered competitors, especially like Doosan. So can you talk a little bit more about that partnership? I'm not sure what you can say, but I just thought that was interesting that they were a partner. I wouldn't have pictured that.
Yeah, for sure. So I think there's many different players in the space, and again, like you could actually look at the other side. We're working with a company called IAI, which is Israel's largest aerospace company, right? And you say, hey, they're actually one of the first ones 40 years ago to develop like the first big UAV in almost in the world, I would say, I think in 78. So, what we've seen is that many different players have their expertise, right? And building hydrogen drones, but I would say not only a specific drone, but as a system, especially when we get to heavy lift, really becomes challenging, a task that many people have different parts. So Doosan in specific, they make a fuel cell, they make a hydrogen cylinder, and they do have a few of their drones, but these are lightweight drones, right? When Doosan is looking for partners to scale up the technology, they came to us and say, hey, we have technology that's relevant for example, larger drones. How can we together, right? Same thing with Plug Power, right? Very, very large company in the hydrogen space that has over, I think, 70,000 forklifts working in the warehouses of Amazon and Walmart. But when they're looking at aviation, they actually launched a partnership with Airbus, but that's going to take a good decade or 2 or 3 or 4. So, and that's really where they said, hey, we have a lot of the pieces of the ecosystem work with us. And our strategy is that the hydrogen ecosystem is evolving fast. And, we work with the best. Right, so whoever has the best technology for each specific industry, we work with them, and we're also working. And actually, in our first HUD-55, we're using the fuel cell from Intelligent Energy, amazing fuel cell, and so
We've
we
used
work with a variety. Right, yeah.
Sorry, yes, so sorry to interrupt, but I'm aware of Intelligent Energy because with that aerospace professor that made the comment about a sexy aircraft, we did a project where we took a DJI drone very similar to the one in your background, and we pulled out the batteries and replaced it with a fuel cell from Intelligent Energy and flew with gaseous hydrogen, and we're able to fly for hours versus minutes. So that was something so I've always known, you could do that with gaseous. But yeah, Honeywell as well. I mean, we've had everybody, I think, on that list, we've had speak at High Sky Monthly, except for Doosan. I would love a connection to somebody that might be able to speak at one of these webinars. That would be great. I don't want to take up all the time for questions. We do have many, but I just wanted to share just a couple of things that kind of jumped out to me that I was really impressed by and interested. So I'm going to start in the chat, and what you all can do is if you want to unmute and ask your question, that usually works the best. I love getting these organic conversations going. So Tom Freund, I see you as the first one. If you want to unmute and turn your camera on, you can ask Ben your question.
Sure. Ben, in one of the slides, I think it's slide 4, you had into the future design something called, if I remember correctly, let me see if I have the term right.
You can
You
say whatever it is,
mentioned,
and
yeah, right. You mentioned basically something called logistic ready payloads, and in your future designs, it says, my question is, are you talking about essentially a modular design for payload in the sense that it can be plugged in and plugged out? In other words, it's not an integral part of the airframe. And
yeah,
away.
so it's a great question. I think that, one of the challenges any innovator has in a new industry is that you want to push the limits, but not too much that it makes it uncomfortable for partners to work, right? So if I go
Mhm.
down to DoD and say, hey, you have to change the whole payload of how you do like logistics in order to fit my aircraft, they'll probably say jump in a lake, right? On the other hand, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it that, these like logistics, for example, really works in different sizes and kind of, the pallets, and there's really is kind of a let's say
Mhm.
a sign language, right, that has there. So we're really trying to make sure that we are aligned with that, and where possible, we're pushing the limits a little bit forward, right? So here again, and the way that the future design, especially that it's a forward flight mode, we do have an internal payload that we want to make it very easy for autonomous logistics. So basically, when you have someone uploading a package, doesn't matter the size as long as it fits, right?
Mhm.
You're talking about autonomous logistics, and the beauty of these new aircraft, we can fly for 8 hours, and we can go, and every hour we can go 30 miles, hover for 10 minutes, pick up a package, go another 10 miles, and we can go, we can do this for hours, 8 hours in one
Mhm.
one refueling. So the vision, of course, for all drones is autonomous, right? That's the beauty here. We don't have humans in the loop. So when you start getting to that, what you want to have is that you have a logistical hub where you have 10 different pillars. The drone lands, it uploads autonomously, goes to its location, drops it off autonomously, and comes back and picks up. For that to happen, there has to be some level of common use cases. But again, we're trying to play that very I would say sensitive and slick line where we make sure that we're able to offer customers solutions with their current ecosystems, that it's not too much disruption that they can't support
Mhm.
that. On the other side, really pushing and telling them, hey, for your benefit, you really want, again, a great example is contested logistics in the DoD environment, right? And there's a lot of thought being going about that. Where's that going? Really trying to push that towards commonality and making sure that it's thought about in drones.
Okay. So if I can follow a question, basically, just a small comment. It sounds to me you want to basically make the power plant, the avionics, etc., like a core component, and FX basically have a mechanism that hooks up to any payload that can be taken at a given point in time. Is that accurate?
Exactly. So we see drones as great platforms, and a great example is a pickup truck, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you look at, there's a regular pickup truck. There's also ambulances that are based off the F-350, right? There
Yeah.
are there are defense vehicles that are based off them. So
Mhm.
it's basically a versatile capability that you can then very significantly customize for a specific use case, like an ambulance, which is kind of
Yeah.
extreme. Or you can just have this great day-to-day vehicle that can be used for many use cases. I think also like the trend that we're seeing, we believe in, is that like any new industry, it really starts around very specific drones solving specific problems. But as it kind of grows, we're going to see there's so many, like once a drone can, for example, if drones can fly beyond visual line of sight, right? In the commercial industry, that's kind of
Mhm.
the main thing. And you could have one operator managing multiple drones, then all of a sudden everyone's going to want to do whatever they can with drones, right? So if you have a field, for example, you're going to want to, fly over, you're going to pollinate your stuff, you're going to cut your trees, you're going to want to move around your produce. You want to do everything with drones. Now, if you have to buy a specific new drone and then train, and get insurance, all this for each use case, that's not going to work. If you can have one
Mhm.
great heavy lifter that combines flying forward and hovering, so we believe that, again, these drones can cover the good, again, majority of use cases. With that said, I think that what you don't want to do early on as a company, as a product, is kind of be a one size fits all, but really solves no. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Mhm. Mhm.
that's where we
Mhm.
really try to again balance it out, which means like really adding significant value to customers today and solving specific problems, but making sure, especially our design, when someone comes with a little bit slightly different problem, we're not designing a whole new aircraft that can take years and be very expensive and complicated.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Sure. You're on mute, Danielle.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Tom. The next question we have is Chris Allo. If you want to unmute and ask your question, you are up.
Am I unmuted now?
You're
Yep.
good, yeah.
Yeah, just a very quick question on why you're at 350 bar instead of 700. You're not able to find the tanks, or are there regulations against having 700 bar on a drone?
Yeah, so it's a great question. And in one of my slides, I showed that we can take hydrogen from the 5x on batteries today to the 8x. One of those directions is going to liquid, the other one is going to 700 bars. So
Ben, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but could you show us that slide again while you're talking to it?
I can, yeah, let me pull it up. So just to answer, speak well. So the answer, Chris, is that there is no technological reason why 700 bar can work today on a drone. What we're seeing, and this goes back to my previous point, I'm just trying to move the slides.
Well, I know a 700 bar tank will weigh a little bit more than a 350 bar tank, and I didn't know if you were taking that into account or if it was availability of a 700 bar tank.
Right, exactly. So
that
well,
form
it's
factor.
two, and hold on, I see that. I'm just done. Oh, here it is. Okay. I think it's this one. So, Chris, so again, the main reason is that, and I mentioned in my previous answer, that we're always trying to push the boundaries without going too far. 350 bars is pretty, I would say, achievable in some places. And when you're even having on-site a portable electrolyzer and a portable pressurizing system, getting to 350 bars is, I would say, an attainable challenge. Going to 700, really requires a whole new level of tooling. I would say there are, places that have it. In California, I'm actually now in California. There are places that you can fill up 700 bars, but it's much more challenging. We wanted to make sure that the first product we introduced to the market is, I would say, minimizing or lowering to the minimal level the needs of hydrogen. Therefore, we found that 350 bars is much easier in most places around the world to get the hydrogen to refuel it. It's faster. There's a lot less safety risk there with lower pressure. So it's really an operational thing. And I said we're already getting the 5x value from that. But we definitely see down the road as the ecosystem evolves on all levels, including the tanks, right, and the lightweight. So obviously the weight is important for anything in drones and aerospace. And to that, the tanks today for 700 bars are significantly more heavier. So the answer is that technologically wise, no reason not to. It's really when the technology gets there and the kind of broader ecosystem gets there.
All right, so maybe I appreciate your answer. I did connect with you. Maybe we can talk this week on an alternative for a 700
Yeah,
bar
amazing.
and a filling system, since we do offer a more portable 700 bar filling system. So
amazing.
Thank you.
I love it. I love these connections that come out of these meetings, these webinars. Okay, next. Okay, I had a comment. I don't know if you know Ilya Honeycove of Bartini, but he's been saying for at least like 6 or 7 years, as long as I've known him, that you have to design the aircraft around the hydrogen. So just another validating thing that, I've heard a lot in the industry that you said. So that was cool. Okay, next up, I hope I don't butcher this name. Jayan the Swore?
Yeah, Jay is good.
Okay, you're up.
Yeah. So hi Ben. So I had
Hey
a
there.
couple of questions. So it's more around design standards and certification, this kind of thing. So are you following any design standards for this platform like DO160, DO254, DO178, the software and also the hardware aspects of it?
Yeah, so the answer is definitely, and we have an amazing team of a team led by our CTO, who also previously led the autonomy team at Amazon Prime Air, and our VP engineering, who led the commercial aviation business at Elbit Systems, which is a large Israeli prime. They do everything like the helmet of the F-35 and other stuff. I'm not the technical person, so I'm not the person to be diving into details about this. But more than happy to connect you and have an offside chat with our team. Really diving. I would just say, I think what's important to understand is that we are building aircraft to FAA type certification standards. And again, this includes, everything around redundancy. So for all, again, no single point failures. This includes detect and avoid capabilities, anything that, needed for autonomy at scale. So that's going into consideration. Some things I see in the chat, like flying near skyscrapers. So these are things that some of them we've tested, and some of them, as we're going along, we're testing. I would say that's a business strategy. We are starting with the use cases and environments where the regulatory environment is easier. So, for example, obviously defense and homeland security, where they control the airspace, but then growing to areas like field, so agriculture, or again, away from the city, things like flying in industrial use cases. So if we are installing these big orange or red marker balls on electric lines, we're flying away from the cities, away from people. So we really started with these use cases. I do think that I significantly believe that this will come, but I think that it will just take a little bit of time until we actually all as individuals, walking sometime around the cities and around New York City, until we see drones zipping around the buildings, etc. So I think that I would say, again, our team is developing the best engineers. Again, if I can vouch for them, really the best out there, the best leadership, and technological leadership, and developing for the best standards. But it will take time. And again, I'm obviously CEO of a drone company, but I'm also an individual that walks on the street and wants to make sure that I do not see any drone from any company falling on top of my head, right? And I think that's an important point that we all have to understand. The regulations part is not only to screw us as industry, it's really to make sure that everything is safe. And I respect that greatly. So again, the answer is yes, and more details. Happy to have a follow-up with our team.
Perfect. Thanks.
Of course.
Great. Next up is Danny Mako. You can unmute and ask your question. And Daniel Wolf, I do see you with your hand up. We'll get to you in just a minute.
Hi, Ben. Hey, I was curious, now that you're able to go much longer distances as a drone, your considerations around, avionics and sensors and data and tracking are much more expanded, I would imagine, than your traditional drones. Can you talk a little bit about those considerations, not only on tracking the drone, but also sensors on the payloads themselves that you might want to be keeping data around?
Yeah, for sure. So it's a great point. The basic, thing is also like communications. If you're flying for, hundreds of miles, like how do you do that? So, and this is really where the subsystems is where defense and commercial tends to split a little bit. So in the defense, more the kind of environments, we have satellite communications, obviously more extended RF communications, as well as cellular. So LTE communications is actually something that has become, it started off more in the commercial industry, and we've seen it taking place. It depends what defense environments you're flying. For example, Navy over the water, LTE is not your way to go. But there are many scenarios that it actually adds value. So the answer is yes. We're looking to this. One of our partners, especially now in the U.S., so we're a company, I'm not sure if I mentioned, but we have dual headquarters in Israel and the U.S. in Miami. So working very tightly with Honeywell, and they have an amazing avionics suite, kind of product suite. Working very closely with them. We're also working on some future hydrogen projects with them. But we're definitely working with again, internal stuff. I mentioned our CTO formerly led the autonomy team at Amazon Prime Air in their drone program, but we really are working with amazing partners as well there. And one example is Honeywell. So the answer is that yes, there are a lot more challenges or things to overcome there. For us, that's the more exciting piece, right? And when we get it right, again, as a system level, including some of our own, technological developments in there, it's great. I'll give you one example that our team is working on. Preventive maintenance is something that the technology itself is not new, but when you're all of a sudden doing, more extreme missions, that becomes more of a, complicated set of problems. So through these challenges, we're actually working on pushing the innovation. They say that necessity is mother of all invention. I'm saying that correctly. In any case, so when you're trying to fly for 8 hours autonomously, then you start really understanding what are the building blocks that we really have to start, solving better. So it's a great question. We definitely are, focused on that, and that's part of the challenge of bringing this to the world. That's also why we started. And our first one that we launched is a hovering drone that's, again, more than 90 minutes to 2 hours. And through that, we're really pushing the boundaries kind of and learning a lot through the system and taking all those lessons learned to our future models.
Great, thanks. Speaking of Honeywell, Ovi is next. Ovi, if you want to unmute, and I'll just go ahead and say, I've worked with Ovi a lot. We were working on a drone project in Kenya to deliver blood, and we did a lot of research trying to find the ideal drone for this, and you were at the top of the list. And I think, HevenDrones, the H2 D250. I hope I said
It
that
gets
right.
complicated. We're still working on branding. Yeah.
Yeah. But I know there was a 250, a D, and an H2 in there
Yeah.
somewhere. But anyway, but
Just
Obi,
to clarify, HD is HevenDrones, H2 is
okay,
hydrogen, so H2D is our hydrogen drones.
okay, H2D, and then the model is 250.
Yeah, that's the new one,
Okay,
correct.
okay, cool. That's easy to remember. Got it. So Ovi, did you want to unmute? And yeah, I highly recommend you connecting to Ben to chat about the possibility of working together on that Kenya project.
Oh, thank you, Danielle. I think you kind of answered my question, which was what role is Honeywell playing? It sounds like it has to do with communication and avionics. Other than that, I mean, we're pursuing that. We're looking at various partners for our Kenya project. It's pretty unique. Of course, one of the challenges is sourcing the hydrogen, especially in a place like Kenya. But I'm just curious, do you have a good solution for how you're gonna produce the hydrogen and store it and be able to deploy it, or is it all pretty much done in the R&D facility?
No. So this is a great point. And again, I mentioned the fact that, the ecosystem is critical. I think that that's also one of the pain points of the customers, right? So there are some companies that again are offering different components, but if you're a customer and you want to buy and you just want to buy and have the ability to get a hydrogen drone, allow it to refill, there really are any solutions. So we're very active in this space. Not much I can say yet, just because we have a bunch of projects that were under a day or under, we haven't launched yet officially, but we are going to be offering customers a variety of options. One is basically just bring with you a bunch of tanks and then kind of change out those tanks in the field. The second one is going to be do on-site electrolyzers in the field, and there are some kind of in between. But we are ready, again, engaging some partners in some of our own development. We'll be offering a full on-site solution. So kind of, you have to have a energy source, electricity source. That can be solar panels, it can be electricity. You have to have water, and then electrolyzers, another micro electrolyzers can produce hydrogen. As I mentioned, we're using a very small amount of hydrogen. So with 1 kilogram of hydrogen a day, you get 8 hours of flight time every 24 hours. It's pretty impressive. Obviously, with 3 kilograms, you get 24/7 operations. So these are things that we're definitely working on, and would love to engage with anyone here, and really with the industry. Again, we very much believe that there's a huge blue ocean. We call it green ocean out there. And, the question is, how do we make it accessible? And accessible is not by HevenDrones, putting our head in the sand and trying everything ourselves. It's how do we offer the best systems possible that, again, are safe, they make sense, they're cheap, etc. Working with, with the industry to get there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Daniel Wolf, you are up. Good to see you too, by the way. Hi, Daniel.
You
I didn't
too.
say hi to you earlier.
That's quite all right. Thank you, Daniel. I'm been quite busy. Hey, yeah, my question, I put it in the chat basically. 2 parts, from a development standpoint with hydrogen as the propulsion system, is the tank weight or fuel cell optimization? What's the greater challenge? And then associated with flight tests, are you doing any in the United States? And are there any unique challenges of getting approvals to fly, given hydrogen is part of the configuration?
Right. So great question. So first question on kind of what's more challenging. I would say that the more we can get, let's say, energy density in general, which includes more energy coming out of less weight. So more hydrogen put into a tank at higher pressures that weigh less, and same with the fuel cell. Which is more challenging? I want to say that in general, the fuel cell technology is more complicated than the tank technology as a whole. But I'll say, they're both challenges, and we definitely have to see innovations in the industry. I mean, continue to move forward, to see this continue scaling up. But I would say that, they're both challenges that the industry, again, not ourselves as a company, but ourselves with our partners, are tackling together to try to get there. And again, it's not only the fuel cell optimization; it's working at more extreme temperatures, weather temperatures, getting more and more life out of it. So getting into the more thousands of hours we can get per per fuel cell. Like imagine your car, usually you can get a good 60 plus thousand miles. You hope more before you change your engine, right? If you got to change your engine every 1,000 hours, you're not going to be a happy camper, right? So again, there are these things that are not just about the energy density; it's really about the maturation of the industry. So I would say both challenges that we're working with partners, great partners, to overcome. We are our first hydrogen drone is coming in the U.S. In the coming months. Not getting exact dates there. We are working very closely with the FAA. So the FAA's approach to hydrogen is like any other system. Prove to us that it's safe, right? So prove to us that it's safe like a battery. It's actually we've proven that it's actually safer than batteries. And the basic kind of difference is if a lithium-ion battery, if a drone crashes and a lithium-ion battery starts, gets on fire, that is a very complicated, dangerous situation to put out. Where hydrogen actually is much safer. We all think about hydrogen bombs and explosions, but it's actually not that. And again, with our partners, we've proven, even shooting at stuff. So there really is, the safety there really is great. It's not the challenge. So we have a great relationship with the FAA and kind of pushing that across. Starting with, again, different levels of the COAs, etc. But we're starting in the coming months. We'll be starting our test flights with the hydrogen in the U.S. As I mentioned, we are exclusive with the Israeli government in Israel and very active there, including building out the whole ecosystem to support customers. So we have a lot of experience, and this is kind of our strategy in Israel. Besides the patriotism aspect of working, I was actually born in the U.S. I mentioned born in the U.S. and moved to Israel, so I'm dual citizen, dual patriotism. But in any case, Israel is an amazing place to bring and test and innovate new technologies. So I think we're coming with a big advantage to the U.S. now that we already kind of built out that ecosystem and continue to test and prove that out.
Thanks for your response. Just it's interesting. We just did ballistic testing on lithium batteries for the Army, and I can see the same challenge here with hydrogen tanks. One last question, I guess, from a logistics standpoint. Given the small quantity of hydrogen, I assume you're using off-the-shelf hydrogen today. You're not necessarily offering a green hydrogen solution from a logistics standpoint.
Right. So that's a great question. And, a question for us is like, how much responsibility do we take over the hydrogen source, right? Like, we're kind of developing it's kind of like asking you, I mean, I guess it's a question to ask, like, where do you get your energy from? Obviously, like, things that people don't understand with the EVs is that, it's great to charge whatever your car with an EV, but the question is, where was that energy sourced, right? Like, you can have coal sourcing, charging the electric vehicle. So, we definitely promote and try to work with green hydrogen where possible, and we're expanding as we grow as a company. As we grow with the hydrogen, we're expanding like broader partnerships. The whole hydrogen hubs, which was mentioned, is a big part of that strategy. In any case, we try to work with hydrogen hubs, but again, if you're giving, if you're selling a customer, definitely if it's a defense-oriented customer hydrogen drone, it's hard to control that. So I would say that we believe and we support the hydrogen ecosystem, the green hydrogen ecosystem, but we can't control it. One thing I will say really interesting is that one of the use cases that's been coming up the past couple of months has been, now that solar farms are much more popular, and this also connects to green hydrogen, especially in the kind of Middle East or the more warmer areas. The question of how do you operate solar farms at large scale is a question. And one of the solutions that we've been working on with a partner is having drones that can actually operate as flying robots, like making a solar field autonomous by having the drones literally lift up and take the solar panels, be able to clean them, replace them, upgrade them, as well as fly over with the cameras and scan, etc. So I do think that that is a really cool area where the drones themselves are scanning and making the solar farms autonomous. New solar farms are going into electrolyzers that are creating green hydrogen. We're using the hydrogen to charge to refuel the drone. So again, we don't control the ecosystem and kind of the supply chain of that. We definitely, would rather try to support green hydrogen.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Amazing. Next up is Shola. Shola, you're up.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for that presentation. I have a question regarding how soon do you think the FAA would allow autonomous drones, such as your technology, transport organs for transplant?
So it's a great question, and I would say somewhat loaded. What I mean by that is there's a lot of different, kind of questions here. There are already scenarios, not in very urbanized areas, but in more suburban areas, where companies are making, especially in the medical kind of more higher value deliveries with drones. It was also just the past couple weeks came out that Walmart is significantly expanding its work with some of its partners, including Zipline and Wing, which is Google's subsidiary. They're obviously making much smaller payloads, so it's really a few pounds. But that's, I think, getting to, 1.8 million people. So the technology is going. Why would I say it's a loaded question? Because on the economic side, if we really want to start making money by drone delivery, we have to get to a scenario where these drones can fly beyond mission line of sight, right? So you don't have visual observers, what they call them. And you can have one person managing multiple or oversighting, right, multiple different drones. And because today, if you have a person in the loop for every drone, then the economics, you're paying a salary of a professional pilot and replacing a 17-year-old DoorDash driver, right? That obviously doesn't make sense yet. So, I think that the technology is starting to evolve. The FAA, the first companies, again, there's something called the type certification, which basically is approving the aircraft, just like a Boeing that we fly on. We'll get that. The FAA have gained that over the past year or two to a few companies. These companies can't yet fly. They cannot yet, again, just fly beyond your line of sight, one-to-many at scale. So the answer is that the industry is moving forward. The FAA is moving forward. There are some scenarios. I wouldn't say these companies are making money yet on it, but we are seeing deliveries of organs in the US today. So it's happening. The industry is moving forward. We are trying as a company to really focus on, as I mentioned before, the use cases where we can add value today. And this does include logistic use cases where we're not flying over people. So things like ship to shore are things that we're really exploring and working on. And then through that, to basically prove to the regulators and to the public opinion, which I think is just as important as a regulator, the safety of drones and the added value of drones and how it's an important part of our life. Now, these includes things like the noise pollution, right? None of us want to hear, tons of drones flying above our heads and so a lot of things I would say that we still have to, as an ecosystem, push forward. Again, so my short answer, or the summary of the long answer, is that we're starting to see it today. It's going to evolve over the next coming years. Hard to put my finger exactly when, but it definitely is moving forward fast.
Thank you.
Sure.
Before I forget, I meant to ask, Ben, how much does one of these drones cost? You said they'll be available in the next couple of months.
Yeah, so it does depend which model. Our aim on the system is to be sub 100K. Now that sounds expensive. There's a lot of money if you compare it to a DJI or a small drone, but if you're looking at, like, a lot of the missions that we're replacing really are, again, the longer distance. We're replacing the helicopters in the offshore. We're replacing things that 1 month of operations can cover and really give back the money. But again, and I would say that it does still vary dramatically based on the subsystems. So there are a lot of kind of things. So we're happy if anyone's interested to have a more discussion. But the sub 100K is what we believe kind of is still lower end and not getting to large UAVs, $100,000. We feel that's another category that, and I know obviously as in any technology, the economies of scale are going to be very important. Drones in general, there are many companies buying, hundreds of thousands of large drones. And, but when we hit, quantities of tens of thousands of drones, obviously this will, fall dramatically, like any technology. So there's no reason that this shouldn't cost, low tens of thousands.
Comparable to a DJI.
Look, this is, in general, comparing, any Western development to Chinese
True.
production costs is, and again, this is not drones, just any industry is challenging. Also, something to consider, and it does depend, but as mentioned here, I forgot with maybe who was it? Not Daniel. I forget who that was. Maybe Danny. When we're talking about going for 8 hours and hundreds of miles, again, satellite communication itself, is an expensive technology where, again, DJI, short range radio frequencies, is really, really, really a small kind of. So again, there are things that make the system more expensive. Our aircraft are much larger than DJI. Again, the subsystems are more expensive, and the hydrogen piece, which it hasn't yet reached economies of scale, right? It's still relatively expensive, but we are aiming towards, and we are very price sensitive.
Yeah, that's exciting. And you're so right on the hydrogen piece. Somebody was picking my brain a couple weeks ago saying, if I wanted to get into hydrogen aviation, what's the gap? And I said, well, it's not a very exciting one, but where I see the most opportunity is getting the hydrogen from A to B. That is, we need that. That was, I came out of a similar company to HevenDrones, where we were flying with hydrogen drones. And our biggest challenge was getting hydrogen. And it was a really silly challenge because we would have to drive like 2 hours to get a tank of hydrogen to do a couple hours of tests.
Yeah.
And it wasn't cheap and it wasn't sustainable. And and that's what actually High Sky was kind of born from. It's like there, has to be a better way to do this. So yeah, Ben, this has just been an amazing okay, Daniel has another question. Hear any interest from the replicator program? I'm not sure.
So-
Could you also tell us what that is? I've never heard of
So
that.
the replicator pro. So sorry, you can speak, Daniel. Daniel, want to take that?
Or you can.
Oh, I can, sure.
If you have the bandwidth.
The replicator program is a program launched a couple months back that basically is the first real commitment from the DoD to a very large scale but low, like on the cheaper drones. So the US, obviously the US DoD has many large drones, and the question is like it takes some time to really launch thousands of drones, but much smaller, much cheaper drones. So the replicator program, and you can all just Google it. It's basically kind of the first, I would say, leap of the first commitment from the US DoD to a large scale program that would include, again, drones of these sizes and smaller drones, and not the huge UAVs. I can't get into detail. Again, specific customers, definitely not DoD, but I'll just say that we're very, very active, engaging with the US government in general.
Nice. Is it sort of like maybe an incentivizing program to, like, say somebody like me needs to buy a drone to test on, but I'm just gonna default to DJI because I know that's the cheapest, the most reliable one, and eventually I would pick a US manufactured drone? Is that sort of the goal, or is it a lot
So
more
it's slightly
involved?
different. It's basically like, especially in the B2B or B2G, kind of business to government area, without clear requirements from the customer, it's very hard to move along, right? So you can innovate, you can show that you have technology, but who's going to use it? When is there going to be the first, what they call program of record? There's a lot of different, aspects here. And the big question, like the DoD has been, I call it playing around with drones for a while there, but we haven't yet seen large programs. Again, there are a few long range, there are a few systems, but they're more, again, small versions of the regular defense ones, the LRT, LRR, some people are familiar. The replicator is really the first, I would say, commitment, which also gives guidelines to ecosystem, to the industry of, what they're looking for, what the requirements, and what's important for the customer. So it's an important program. I think the first of many, important program for the US drone industry, especially, looking at the DoD.
I see. So sort of like solving the demand side problem.
Again, it's not solving the demand side. It's really no, it's a commitment, right? It's like saying, hey,
Yeah,
we're
gotcha.
launching the first, again, especially with DoD, with government, there are very clear lanes that you can take, right? And even if there's a lot of interest, if there's no clear lane, then it's very hard to move forward. And this comes, everything's budgeted, etc. So the replicator is an important program for the industry.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you again for answering all of our questions. We could keep you on here until you passed out. I love this group. We always have a great engagement. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on. I definitely want to get you on my podcast. We can talk informally. I would love to learn more about you personally. Hopefully we can meet in person when I'm in California. And again, just a huge thanks for being our 50th guest, and our first guest.
It's been an honor.
Yeah, and our first guest of 2024. So really excited about HevenDrones and to follow your path.
Thank you for hosting this, Danielle. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's absolute honor and a pleasure. So thank you so much, Ben. And yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
Excellent. Thank you all for staying with me. Hope it was at least added some value.
It was amazing. Bye, everybody. You get 6 minutes of your day back.
Thanks, Ben.
Cheers.
Great job.
Everyone.
Thank you, Danielle. Bye now.